Well, welcome to Signs of Life, the show where we find hope in the headlines. My name is Chase. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm joined by Josiah and Montana.
Hey.
Good morning.
And today we are going to be talking about something that just happened a few days ago. Everyone's obviously talking about this. It's affecting a lot of things, and that was the overturning of the Roe versus Wade case. And it has obviously brought up a lot of things, but we're not really going to dive into the specifics or the facts or the legality of things. We're really more want to talk about the response because, as we've talked about a lot on the show in lots of episodes, this is one ruling today, but it'll be another one tomorrow. It'll be another thing the next week. Our world is constantly going to have things that it's presenting and issues and circumstances that change. And the question really is like, it's always a very interesting case study of the way that we choose to respond to these things. And so, Josiah, I know that you found something that I think kind of really spurred on the reason we're going to talk about this today. Talk about that.
Yeah, I read somebody posted about Roe versus Wade being overturned, and what they were choosing to talk about was the public response of a decision like this in our country and in our culture and even among friend groups. And specifically what this person was talking about was our kind of odd feeling of responsibility that we need to post something on social media or declare what our theological beliefs, economical, political beliefs, socio-political beliefs, and blah, 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 other beliefs that I'm making up words now.
Yeah.
But the point is like what our stance is on it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first things she said. I thought, man, that is so interesting. She went on to talk about how our social media posts are almost acting like gang signs today. It's kind of like, hey, in case anybody was wondering, this is the gang I'm a part of. And, I don't know, man, I just find that so fascinating. It's like, where did we get that we needed to make a stance or we needed to make a statement more so? I mean, I'm all for making a stance personally. I think it's important for you to evaluate what you believe and why you believe it. But why do we feel this need to make a social media statement on everything that happens?
I know. I think it's like people look to social media as kind of their news source. That's not probably good, obviously, because there's so many opinions in there. But like I was guilty of this too, just looking through people's stories and being curious, like, oh, what did they post? What did they post? And and it doesn't change my opinion of that person, no matter what they post, but it still was like so expected. And I didn't post anything at all. And I don't know, I almost felt this little bit of like guilt too, like I was doing something wrong. I wasn't playing by the rules of
Well, that's so
of what
true
you
though.
do.
It's like if you don't post something, it's almost like you're making a statement without saying something. It's like, well, obviously you feel this way if you didn't post. I mean, especially when you're in positions like we are, where we work at an evangelical, even though I hate that word, Christian church. We're pastors at a church. And if we don't post something, what does that say, Right. And it's like, well, maybe I'm not saying anything, you shouldn't assume where I'm at.
Right.
But it's, if you're in trouble if you do, and you're in trouble if you don't, and you're in trouble if you say it this way, and if you that way, and there's so much division around it. And so, my concern about it, I guess, to get productive with this conversation is, I just think it's really sad how we've invested so much into conversations over social media, which, let's be honest, they're not conversations, right? A conversation is where you leave space for somebody to reply. What I saw over and over again was, hey, I'm not looking for arguments, and if you disagree with me, you can go ahead and unfriend me. That's not a conversation. Like that's you making a divisive statement. But we've put so much into the social media world, and the effects of that, the problem with that is it has naturally drifted us away from having real conversations with real people and being open-minded and leaving space for other opinions and maybe even being disagreed with and still walking away in unity. And so that's the problem I have with it, is it's a recipe for division when we put so much into just statements made on social media.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think I probably disagree. And even Montana, you said, I don't, whatever you post doesn't change how I feel about you. Like, I don't know if you believe that really fully or not. Because if I see you post something and you took the time to post it, like, to me, that's a revealing of what you do believe. And not to say that I will hate you or whatever, but it may change my opinion about who I thought you were, or it will change what I think you value because you're telling me what you value. And I, like, when I think about social media, because I did post something, I posted a little reel, but what for me, and like you said, the emphasis on it, I think, is the recipe for division. I agree with that. Also, me posting that actually ended up spurring conversations with people outside of social media. There were a couple comments, whatever, but then seeing people at church on Sunday was, hey, thanks for posting that. I thought about this, and I had a friend say this, and now we're having a conversation that went beyond just, hey, how was your weekend? And so I think the emphasis of it absolutely can be a problem. But I also, I think a lot of this got brought on all the way back, which feels like years ago now, in 2020, when that was when, like you said, we began to make this marker of, if you don't post something, or when you do post something, or when you don't post something, you're ultimately flashing your gang sign. Right. And it's like the only way to get out of that is to literally get out of it, like get out of social media and get off of it. And I think for some people that is the right choice. That is what they should do, and there's power in that. And I actually have seen that work for people. Like, I've been surprised, people our age who are just done with social media. Like, they got off of it, but when I think back to their posts and their life at that point, like, it got them in a lot of trouble. And now it's like they probably think the same, but there's something about them not posting it all the time and saying those things that, and I think where you're getting at, they're not saying it to a person. They're just saying it online. Right. So in their mind, it's like, this is fine, but it's like, you would never say those words to a person face to face, though.
Well, something I'm wrestling with right now that I don't know how to feel about it is, like, I kind of feel bad sometimes when I don't post, because I'm wondering, well, am I being true to myself? And am I being true to others if I'm not blatantly honest about where I stand with certain topics? Like, am I hiding from people? Am I lying to people? Am I not being transparent? Which I don't know. It feels weird to me both ways. It feels weird to feel like I need to say something, but then it also feels weird if I don't say anything, because now I'm questioning my own integrity over it. And so it's again, you posted something, I didn't post something. What I didn't post is fine. What you posted was fine. I just think the whole deal about how much we invest in social media, how much we put into it, is really interesting. I also think, too, you just have to be careful to make sure that it's not virtue signaling, I think is what they call it. It's just, or believing that your social media post is a substitute for taking action on your beliefs, right? And so, like, you want to post something, great, but if you really believe what you're posting, like, go and do something about it. Your words, it's kind of what we talked about the past couple of weeks. It's your words is not doing what you're saying. Right. You're just saying what you're saying. Yeah. So make sure whatever your conviction is, that you're following up with that. Yeah. And so. Yeah.
And then you have to post a picture of you actually doing it, to prove that you did it, right?
Well, that's the only reason to do it. So.
God.
I think that's why I said, usually when I see someone post something, it's not going to change my belief of them right away, because most people just post things because they think that they should. I think that people feel that obligation of, I need to contribute to this, social topic, this conversation that's happening. I need to contribute So even though I'm maybe not 100% sure on my beliefs, I'm going to post it anyway. And so that's kind of going through my head because I feel a little bit of that. Like I should post something, but I, you know, Enneagram 9, whatever, like I don't form my opinions on things that quickly. Like it's not like, oh, I just saw this happen. Boom, this is what I believe. Like I need to take a lot of time processing and understand my why. And so that's why I choose not to post. Not because not because I'm apathetic and don't care about it. I just don't, don't have my full reasoning why. So that's kind of my first thought when I see somebody post. It's like, okay, let me think about like the human who posted this, and they might not be totally tied to this belief. And I can't even be mad at them for posting something and not fully believing it, because there is this pressure, especially on Instagram, I think, like to just share that post that you saw on your Explore page or that your friend shared, share it again, because it seems like that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Which it's not really fair.
So let me ask y'all this then: if kind of what you're saying, what are the rules? Like, how do you determine for yourself, Montana? You're out of all of us, like you know the most about social media. Josiah, out of all of us, like you probably have, the biggest platform as far as the number of voices hearing. So like there's responsibility to that, but there's also opportunity too. What are the rules for you? Maybe personal or maybe just suggested rules on what you post about or how you respond to things or what kind of things you respond to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the number one thing to remember is what you're posting is what you're saying. You are saying these things to real people. And so many times we say things on social media or behind a screen that we would never say to somebody face to face. And so these are words that you're saying to real people. And so if you wouldn't say them to somebody's face, don't say them behind a computer. But there's this story of that was made famous by Socrates, and it's called the 3-filter test for anything that is being said. And the story goes that somebody came to him and said, "Hey, I have some news for you." And Socrates asked him 3 questions. He said, "Do you know for a fact that what you're about to say is true?" And the man said, "Well, no, I'm not 100% sure." He said, "Well, anything you say needs to be true." The second thing he asked him is it good? Like, is it good news that you're speaking, or is this harmful, hurtful news? And he said, "No, it's not really good news." And then Socrates asked him, "Well, is it useful? What you're about to tell me useful?" And the man said no. And he said, so Socrates said, "So what you're about to tell me, you don't know if it's true, it's not good, and it's not useful. Why would you say it?" And I just felt like that was such an appropriate filter for anything that we say, including on social media. And again, anything we say, what you're posting on social media is what you are saying to people. So if you're not going to say it to someone in their face, don't say it on social media. For me personally, I always want to make sure that I really believe what I'm posting and that it's timeless to a certain extent, because I understand that I'm going to grow and evolve over the years and maybe even change my opinions and views. I think you should change your opinions and views as you mature and grow. But I want to make sure that I'm not posting something. If something happens on a Thursday, I'm not posting on a Friday. And then later that week, I'm hearing some different opinions and my opinion changes. I just want to take some time to think, do I really believe this? Is this really part of my conviction? And then for me, and I think for a lot of people, I think people have more influence than they think. But for me, as a pastor of a church, to be honest, I have to ask the question, is this something that I'm willing to die on this hill? Is this worth me speaking out on? Do I need to say something about this? And if I don't need to say something about it, I don't know if I'm going to. But to me, that's just like a good rule of thumb for like life in general. I mean, don't say words you don't need to say, you know?
Yeah, I think for me too, it's a lot of, I'm not going to post something if I don't not know all the facts, because do we ever know everything? Of course not. But I'm not going to post something that I haven't fully formed my opinion on, because, and maybe this is not necessarily for the right reason, but I don't want to look dumb. Like, I don't want to look like, wow, you didn't actually do your research on something and then you just went and posted that without even caring. I have a specific memory of being in high school, and like arguing with someone about something on the news. I don't know. And then a couple of days later, having to go back and apologize and be like, I didn't know everything that I was talking about. And it was like a super humbling experience for me. And it kind of made me think like, I don't ever want to do that, especially on social media where you, like we said earlier, you don't get to have a conversation most of the time. If 500 people see something that you post, maybe a few will reach out, but that's so many other people that are just taking what you posted and then attaching that to your person.
Well, what you're saying too is why I think it's so important for us. Probably our primary response to something big happening in our world should be to get in a room with people that we know and we trust and we love and have healthy conversation and debate over it. Everything I believe is a combination of conversations and personal convictions and opinions and different opinions that I've heard in my life. And so I want to make sure that I'm leaving space to hear different things because it may change what I think.
Yeah.
And it may change my opinions. It may challenge me. I mean, I can't tell you how many times one very specific example of something that I was, hell-bent on. I was dead set that I believed this certain thing. And then I got in a room with somebody and this person told me their personal story and it just made me think, maybe I'm not right. Maybe what I believe is not true.
Yeah.
And if you go what I see a lot with social media is this underlining of pride of this is what I believe, this is what's true, and if you don't believe this, then you're an idiot. And it's like, that's just prideful, man. I mean, if you're not willing to get in a room with other people and let them challenge you and disagree with you and tell you why they believe otherwise, you're not being humble. You're not being willing to listen and slow to speak like we've talked about.
Yeah.
So anyway.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's interesting. I think you'd mentioned like personal conviction and even Montana, like not wanting to look dumb. And I think part of, and I'm realizing I might be like half glass full or half glass empty people today. But like to me, the opportunity on social media to say something and to get an opportunity to follow up later and say, hey, I found out some more information, or, I heard a story and it's actually changed my mind. Like, I don't think we promote or I don't think we show people that like what it looks like when you change your mind, that it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to get new information. It's okay to experience something in a different way that may now change your opinion or your view or your belief about something. And I think social media doesn't help with that because people feel that pressure of when I post it, this is what I have to believe now forever. And now I'm that person.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the whole deal of, pick your metaphor, your example, but it's just like you get known for something and now you're just that person.
Yeah.
I love The Office. We were talking about this before the show. Like, what's your comfort show? Like, I can throw The Office on whenever, and then immediately pick up my phone and just pay attention to my phone.
Literally.
But like the earlier seasons where Ryan, the temp, starts the fire and he's fire guy.
Yeah.
Like that's his joke. But that's his thing. Like now he's the fire guy because he did this one thing. We do that in real life though, and it's like you post something that gets maybe some extra views or likes, and now you're that person on social media. And that's just attached to you, like you said. Like, it's hard to break out of that. But the reality is like we do. Like that we do change our opinions. We do change our minds. We do get into relationship with new people who bring in a new perspective to us. And I think the more that we're willing to show the fact that we're growing and learning and adapting, like the better that is for everyone to know, like this is okay to do. And this is actually, like, this is the best way to do this, is to be someone who's willing to adapt and to grow and to learn. And that's where I think social media can be an opportunity to show that. We all have a mutual friend who, and it's kind of her thing. Like, we know her, hey, that's your thing. That's what you do online. But like, she likes to share posts from when she was a kid. And they're really funny and they're super goofy. But like, what's funny is like, she can make fun of that person, even though that person believed that thing that they posted. And it's, about something they liked or an artist she liked. But like, the thing that I think is really cool about that is, yes, like, look how far you've come. Look how much you've developed now. Look how different you are. And to me, instead of just deleting those things or ignoring those things or pretending, no, I'm still that person.
Right,
let's be okay to say, wow, like I've completely changed now. Like I'm a different person today. I've grown a lot. And I can respect to that, the experiences that I had experienced to that point of my life, but I also know that I've grown and learned. And I think the more we get better at that, the more that, and that should show up in our social media, that should show up in our conversations. Like that to me is where, as a society, as a community of people, I feel like we'll be trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
Well, and let's get to the root of a lot of this. The reason we're even having this conversation is because our world has bought into the lie that to have unity, we all have to believe the same thing, or we all have to agree. And the truth is, we can have unity and be in disagreement, and we can have unity and have different opinions. And the quicker we get to that truth, that me and you can disagree on something and I can still love you and we can still be friends and we can still do life together and everything, the quicker that we can get to that point, the more we're going to be able to have healthy conversations, and social media is not even an issue anymore.
Yeah.
And so I put a lot into the idea of unity. The Bible says, Jesus says, in John that the unity of believers is how the world is going to know God's love for them is real. And so especially as followers of Jesus, it's really important that we understand that we can have unity with people that we disagree with.
That's good.
And when I look at that, it's like no wonder the world doesn't really buy into the whole God thing, because look how Christians are and how we aren't unified when we disagree.
Yeah.
And so that's the most important thing to me. It's finding unity with people that you disagree with, and then you can have whatever conversations you want to have.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because, like we're saying, it's Roe v. Wade today. It'll be another thing tomorrow and another thing the next day.
Yeah.
But the unity of love and care about another human being, and that compassion that we can feel for someone and empathy we can feel for someone is so foundational. So that when those things come up, when those disagreements come up, we can still learn from each other and still disagree with one another, because it's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen. It's not going to be a Supreme Court thing tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be an argument in your workplace. Tomorrow's going to be something that happens in your family. It's going to be something that somebody posted or sent you or whatever. But it is like these moments like we're bringing up today. These moments are a good opportunity, I think, to do what we just did and say, okay, what are my rules for myself when it comes to social media, when it comes to conversations, beyond even social media? If I get into a conversation with someone about my beliefs, what are my rules then? Like, do I feel like I have to share everything? Do I feel like I need to have a level of trust with someone before I have a long conversation with them about something? And so I think that's a good reminder, like, that this brings up. The other thing I think, too, is it's a good reminder, like y'all said, of really figuring out, okay, well, what do I believe about this thing? And maybe I don't post about it, maybe I don't share it, but it does help me to think again, to think, okay, well, I used to think this, but actually now, like you said about that situation you had, now that I've heard this story, I might think a little bit different. Or at the very least, and I think this is such a good picture of the gospel, like at the very least say, I don't think my opinion has changed on this, but I know now how to love someone that I disagree with better because I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I've heard you out. Yeah. It doesn't change my opinion, doesn't change what I value, but I understand where you're coming from now, that I can have compassion still.
Yeah. I mean, just hearing somebody's different perspective is a form of love.
Yeah, that's good.
So, yeah, man, what we're not saying, I think, is, ignore all these issues and don't have an opinion. I think what we're saying is, man, really think about what is it that is your opinion and make sure you're going about finding that in a healthy way.
That's good.
So, Chase, since you did post something about Roe v. Wade and your response, obviously we don't think that social media is a bad thing, right? We're on social media right now.
Yeah.
And social media is an incredible tool. I probably lean more towards not posting something. You lean more towards posting something. I really would love to hear more about why you feel like it's necessary to use your voice with social media and the good that can come from that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, point one is personalities are different as well. And so like Like I don't have no problem getting up on a stage or a platform or sharing, because I can also be, I think, vulnerable and honest enough to say this is where I'm at today. That could change.
Right.
But the second thing I think too is, for in my world and in my life, the people I interact with, which is y'all and a bunch of other people, but like the biggest platform really is social media. And so, Montana, you said earlier, that's where we go to get news, where we go to get things, whether it's right or wrong. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing, because we've already proven that our main, when it comes to news, like our main news outlets are biased, and whatever, it's a profit company. Like they should be, I guess, for their profit. But that to me is where the opportunity that exists with social media is so big. And so, and I don't post on everything either. Like, I think what I like to say, or what I like when I post something, whether, if I'm posting about my kids or about, something we're doing or whatever, that's one thing. But like if I have a thought, like, a thought that I want to share that I think encourages people, part of what I tried to do and with my post this weekend really was thinking through, okay, there's a lot of people that I know that follow me on social media, that I'm friends with on social media, that I know, and they're the people who like Signs of Life. Like they have in their mind what every church or Christian is going to say and what they're going to post. And I like to at least think about the other perspective. I heard I read a tweet actually this weekend someone sent me, and he referred to this, kind of wild group of Christians that he called them side B Christians, like side B of a tape or a record. And it's just kind of like this off-brand of Christians, which I think is really what we are. It's like we're not what you would categorize as typical, American Christians. And so you have this like side B Christians who are saying what we're saying, which is like, we're not saying anything. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, I agree with this, I disagree with this. What I want to do is be like Jesus and just ask a couple questions that help us to think a little bit different. Yeah. And you can infer, or you can, assume what my beliefs are, which is fine. That's great. But like, here's what I'm thinking that is probably different from what your 60-year-old, Christian grandfather is thinking. Yeah. And I think that's where, for at least for me, like I want to present that because I know, and even with our story of Noah, like sharing about him and sharing about the miracle, like I struggled with that, and I dealt with even some guilt around that, because it's like, well, Noah got a miracle, but not every baby gets their miracle, and that's really sad. So should I not share about Noah's though, because I don't want to hurt someone's feelings who prayed and didn't get their prayers answered? And that to me, though, is like, I would rather have a conversation about that. I would rather you say, well, I'm glad that worked out for you, didn't work out for me. Okay, well thank you for sharing that so we can actually have a conversation, as opposed to me just not sharing his story because it has encouraged people. And I think this was the same way, like the post I made, once again, it opened up conversations with people once I did get in person with them. And even a couple of, with a reel, it's obviously public, whatever, a couple people commenting saying like, hey, thanks for posting. Like, I haven't seen this perspective on it from a Christian, but I think this is what I line up with. Like, and I know that that's happened for me, not even just social media, it happens on a Sunday in church where, I'll hear you say something and I think that put words to what I think I believe, but I haven't been able to formulate a thought around. Right. And I think that's, once again, it's an opportunity. It doesn't always work out that great, but I think that's the opportunity with social media. I think that's why I choose to post sometimes, as opposed to not posting. Yeah.
What I'm hearing you say is that there's a huge opportunity to encourage a lot of people on social media.
Absolutely.
And help them articulate what they're feeling, but don't know quite how to say it. And man, I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think you got to ask yourself that question. Is this encouraging? Is this helpful? Is this true? Is it useful?
And I think we've talked about that too, of, the focus of being like, what are you for? And not just always, what are you against?
Right.
And it's like, what are you for? Even in a negative situation, it's like, sharing the thing that you're for. Like, here's what I'm for. Like, I'm for, helping people, serving people, being compassionate. Like, and the thing is, no matter where you fall on a political aisle, you can do that. You can be for those things.
And that is how you build unity. It's not about, hey, do you disagree with the same things that I disagree with? Right. It's, are you for the same things I'm for? Yeah. We're both for loving people. We're both for serving people. we're both for being like Jesus, all right, man, then everything else doesn't matter. We can be in unity and let's go get it. So
And if you're not for those things, if you're like, I don't care about loving people, that's not my job, then we can be in a disagreement. Like, you're gonna live your life, I'm still gonna want to love you the best that I can, and try to serve you in the ways that I'm able to. And that to me is the calling of a believer. That's what makes following Jesus different from someone who's not, from someone who's, figuring life out on their own. And that's the invitation, I think, to Jesus, is that. It's like there is something bigger and better that he's calling all of us to. And it's not just church at Sunday morning, it's your local church. Like, it's this lifestyle of choosing to love and to be for people. And I think that's what's important.
it's good.
So I love that you guys shared those rules, why what you do before you post and slowing down. And I think what's interesting is, like, that's really life. It's like, before I say something out loud, before I say something to somebody, even like, I love, Montana, I think you mentioned people sharing things or posts. Like, even before you share something else, like, really think about, is this worth sharing? I love that thought. And I think that's helpful for all of us as we engage with people every day, as we're interacting with people, whether it's our spouse, whether it's our kids, whether it's coworkers. And I think that's what's going to make us better as a community, is thinking about those three things. Like, is this true? Is this good? Is this encouraging? And is this helpful?
Useful, yeah.
Is this useful? Yeah.
Yeah. And then the conclusion to that may be, hey, I'm going to post this that's super encouraging like you did. Or it may be, you know what? I don't really feel the need to post something.
Yeah.
And either way is a good road. So
let me ask you this or that here as we wrap up today's episode. If you had to choose a social media platform that you felt like best represented your personality, what would you choose?
That best represented your personality? Oh, man. That's hard.
Really?
I would say
Yeah.
Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That works great for you.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's
yes.
just
No, it makes sense.
old
does.
school
It's to the
Twitter,
point. It's just, here it is.
Old school
Sure.
Twitter, 144 characters. Here's what I think. Deal with it. And
That's so good.
yeah, so I'm a Twitter. I'd say Twitter.
that.
Very corporate, very to the point.
That's good. Why are you
don't
struggling,
know.
TikTok?
No, I don't think I love TikTok, don't get me wrong. I just don't think it represents necessarily my personality. I would put you as TikTok.
Why?
Why? Because it's great. Like, it's great, it's fun.
I'm great. I'm fun. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't let you down.
It doesn't let you down.
I would
You're welcome.
I would say that yours is MySpace for sure.
MySpace. I
Yeah.
mean, okay.
Yeah, just because you're kind of an old soul and you love music, and so like the big thing with MySpace
True.
was
Wow,
come
that's
listen to
just-
my
Josiah's
like
good at this.
my
Yeah, this is good.
the song I have on my.
You had your top 8 friends
you have your
too.
top
You only
eight
have
friends.
your
You're kind
top
of an
8.
intimate person,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
just think like
MySpace.
MySpace.
And MySpace was a mix of, like, you could start, you could put pictures up.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could put posts.
Yeah.
It wasn't always the same thing.
Yeah.
You're kind of a
for
mixed
sure.
bag.
True.
MySpace. So
Okay.
Todd is Zanga.
Zanga. Okay, I loved Zanga.
Yeah. Well.
Zanga was just basically a weird personal blog that everyone watched. And you could put music on your Zanga page too. But
That's
good old
good.
throwback
So,
right there.
do you agree that you're TikTok?
Sure, I'll take TikTok, I guess.
TikTok.
I
What's-
was hoping you were
what-
going to say Facebook because that made me feel like you were calling me old or
No,
something. But
not Facebook. I would never
TikTok,
do that to you.
Twitter, and MySpace. MySpace, good throwback too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for watching and listening today. I want to encourage you, if this was true, if this was good, and if this was useful, to share this. Share this episode with somebody. I think it, like I do, I think it will help you, help your circle of friends too, in the way that you engage and agree and disagree. And so, yeah, make sure you're following along though, and we will see you guys next time on Signs of Life.